Hello all and welcome to Wow Crochet yet again for another tutorial, and my name is Mary. In today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to make this gorgeous little beanie, something a little bit exciting for a change. It's not little, it's actually the size of my head and with a little tiny bit of slouch as well, so it's actually quite big. The length of my beanie, and as it turned out, altogether turned out to be around 8.5 inches, okay, but when I was making it, it was up to 10 inches, okay, because when you scrunch all this up the top, you lose an inch or so while scrunching. Having said that, even though I lost that inch or so, I still had a little bit more for a tiny bit of a slouch at the back of my head as well. If you wanted to make it a slouchy beanie, just keep going for as long as you want the slouch to be. If you want the slouch to probably be about another, 2 or 3 inches or whatever, it just depends on how long you want your slouch to be, okay? We don't need to do a border on this beanie because it kind of has its own little border right there. Because these stitches, like I said before, are double, and these are half double. So it kind of has its own border. I am not going to put another border on. I think it looks great as is. The items I used were Clocheted yarn, 8 ply. I used 2 balls or 2 skeins or skeins or whatever you want to call the word of this particular Clocheted yarn, and I did use the correct hook. Sometimes I use a 1 hook size up because my crocheting is quite tight, but this pattern is quite a loose, thick kind of pattern, solid pattern, so you don't need to change the size of the hook if you crochet tightly like me. I used 2 of these skeins and that's it. And this is the hook I used, which is a normal 4 clover, my favourite hook to use, period. Of course I had scissors. And you need your measuring tape, you will need it so that you can measure the size of your beanie. And I used a sewing needle, I think in the beginning, I showed you a sewing needle, but towards the end I believe I used this darning needle, which is so much better when weaving your stitches in here, and then when you're weaving in and out of the little stitches up the top, this hook or this needle is so much better. Okay, if you've got a normal sewing needle, that's okay too, but I found this one was easier for me to use. And that's all I need to tell you about the item. Let's get started. Today we're using the Clocheted country yarn. It is an 8 ply, okay, and we'll be using a 4mm hook. That is this one here. I like to use the clover. It is my favourite one. Okay, we'll also need a pair of scissors, of course, and stitch markers. If you're new at crochet, then I suggest using stitch markers. Now, stitch markers, they're very good. You can buy them like this. You can buy them that just twirl like that, or you can actually invent your own. I've seen people use bobby pins. I've seen people use, say, a white colour thread and tied it around, just very lightly, of course, not in knots. And I've also seen people use paper clips, so you can use whatever you like. If you're an intermediate, then if you don't think you need stitch markers, then you don't need them. And if you are a professional, you won't need them at all. But a lot of people like to use them, and occasionally I do use them. All right. Now, we also would need a darning needle or sewing needle, whichever you prefer to use, okay? And of course you need your trusty measuring tape for this particular piece, and the reason being is everybody is different. And I know that when I made this particular beanie, I made it at 10 inches or roughly 25 centimetres, 25.5, whichever. I think mine was exactly 25, to be honest with you. Okay, so you will need a measuring tape to measure. Or you could just work from, the base of your head, the front of your head where your forehead is, all the way back to the very top of your head, okay, and work that way if you like, whilst you're chaining. But for the average head, you're chaining up roughly 40 stitches, okay, if that helps. Give or take a few, depending on the size of your head, okay. Now, if you are not familiar with slip knot, chain, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, and all of those in back loops, except for the chains, of course, then you may need to go and get some practice. I do have tutorials here go check them out, have a bit of a play, come back to us, okay? But if you are, let's get started. Quick slip knot, half over and all the way over, okay? Now, like I said before, you chain up enough chains to make 10 inches or roughly 25 centimetres, whatever, or you can just chain up 40, and that roughly makes it with this particular Cloqueton 8-ply yarn. If you crochet a little tightly like I do, you might want to chain up another 3 or 4 stitches, 5 maybe. You don't need to count how many stitches you have as long as you have the same amount of stitches at the end of your project. Okay, no counting involved with this one's great. So 1, 2, a nice little close up there, 3, 4, 5. Now count up enough to get to 40 stitches or roughly 25 centimetres to 40 inches. 40 inches, I'm sorry, 10 inches. I'll be back. All right, I have exactly 40 stitches, and mine actually, I'll measure it here with you, mine actually measures up a little bit less than 25, I think. Let's have a quick look. Oh no, 25 exactly, okay? So, yeah, roughly 25 or 10 inches, it's a little bit more than 25, we're looking at 25.5. So yeah, roughly 10 inches, okay? I like to use centimetres as well because here in Australia we tend to use centimetres more than inches, okay? But that's neither here nor there. All right, we're going to start with, okay, we're going to start with the half double crochets on this end and the single double crochets on the other end, okay? Now this is where you will need your stitch markers, all right? So we'll get a nice close-up of the hook so you can have a look. Excuse me. All right, now half double crochet, as you know, is yarn over hook. Now we usually don't put it in that very first chain with half double, we put it in the next chain. So we're doing a half double crochet in the next chain, and with this particular one we're not putting it through the both loops, we're just going to put it through one. And the reason being is we'll need those loops later. Okay, so we're just going to put it through the one loop. Okay, that's your half double crochet. Okay, then yarn over hook, that's your first one. We're going to do our second one in that chain. Okay, yarn over hook again, and our third one in your next chain. Yarn over hook, a fourth one, yarn over hook. Oops, I've just split the yarn. My apologies there, people. Or you can actually see it split too. Look right there. It happens when you reuse yarn, okay? That's your fourth one. And then you've got a fifth one, okay? I'll just pull this up and I'll show you what I mean by one. Oops, sorry. I'm sorry about that. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's the V's you're looking at. I know the blue is a little bit hard to see here. Yeah, it's the V's that you're looking at. See those V's right there? Okay, that's your first 5 half double crochets. So what you do now, this is where you use your stitch markers. Get a nice close up for you, okay? That last one you just did right there, you're going to put your stitch marker in there. Now the reason being is you're going to do, excuse me, you're going to do double crochets all the way across now until you get to the last 5 stitches, and then you'll do single crochets. So when you turn around and come back this way, you want to remember where you did your half double crochets, and if you're not a professional in crochet, you may forget. If you're professional, don't use your stitch markers if you don't need them, because you'll know when you get back that that's where you'll put your half double crochet. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put a double crochet in each stitch, just your normal double crochet in each stitch, okay, all the way across come to the last 5 stitches and stop, and I'll meet you up. Okay, we're up to the last 5 stitches, and now with the last 5 stitches we've done our half doubles down this end, we've done our doubles all the way across. The last 5 stitches are going to be single crochet, and your single crochet just goes in that top stitch, the top loop, sorry, just your normal single crochet across like that. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now yours truly forgot to put my stitch marker in because I'm so used to not using it, but I will put it in now. And you'll notice that the double crochet is so much taller than that single crochet anyway, but I will pop it into the first single crochet. And if you're not sure that you've put it in or not, or if you've got it in the right spot, you just count back. You just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's in the right spot, okay? So now for the next row, very basic, we chain 1, we turn. The next row is a little bit different. We're still going to do exactly the same stitches, but we are going to crochet in the back loop only. Now, these are your loops here. Let me get close up for you. These are your loops here. Not that close, sorry. So these are your loops, right? There's your front, there's your back. When you're turning it around, it's the same. That's the front. Oops, that's the front. There, and the back loops are standing behind them. There's those V, that's all it is, all right? So, I'll get a nice close-up when I do it so you understand. Now, we are doing the single crochet. Okay, so we're going to do, in the first one, we're not putting it in the back loop because we need it to be secure and strong. So we're going to put it in both loops. See how it's both loops there? The 2 loops, 1 and 2. So we're going to do a normal single crochet in those 2 loops, all right? But with the rest, the next 4, we're going to be putting it in, not the both loops there, we're going to be putting it in just that back loop right there. So we'll do a single crochet there. So that's single crochet number 2, single crochet number 3, single crochet number 4, and your last one will be in that stitch marker. So you can take that stitch marker out and do your single crochet number 5, and then just pop that stitch marker back in there, all right? Getting it ready for the next round. So now we're at the double crochets. So you're going to be doing double crochets in the back loop only, all the way across. Oops, not half double, double, sorry. Okay, double, double, and double. Now do that all the way across until you get to your stitch marker, and I'll meet you up. Okay, we've arrived at the stitch marker. So we'll take off, oops, out of the camera, sorry about that. Take off that stitch marker. Okay, and we're going to put half double crochets in the back loops only. Before we did the singles, then we did doubles, and now we're doing the half doubles. Okay, in that back loop only. Here's your first one. And before you continue, pop that stitch marker back in if you need a stitch marker, which I do. Oh, not normally, but I do today because I'm doing the tutorial. Okay, so pop that stitch marker in there. Okay, and then we do another half double in your very next one that you come to, which is there. Oh, sorry, I'm out of the picture there. Apologies there. So that's second half double. And you do your third half double. And then you do your fourth half double in the back loops only, remembering. Now, don't do the fifth one yet because we're going to do it in all the loops in the fifth one, okay? So pop that in both loops, okay? A little bit hard to see, but it's there. All right, there you go. So far, I'll show you what you have. You have that. Okay, and now you can already start to see the ridge happening. Okay, straighten that out a little bit. So that's your single crochet end, and that's your half double crochet end. Okay, so far that's what you have. Now we are going to chain up. Oh, nice close up again, sorry about that. Chain up 2, 1, 2, turn, or turn your work and chain up 2, whichever suits you. We're going to do our first half double crochet in the both loops of that first stitch. Okay, there you have it. Now we're going to do our next 1, 2, 3, 4 half double crochets in the back loops only again. So right in those back loops there. 1, 2, 3. Now including your first one that you put there, that's actually 4 half doubles. Take your stitch marker off, pop in your 5th one there. Alright, so you can pop your stitch marker back, and now the rest of the row is pretty basic. We're going to do our normal half double crochets in the back loops only, all the way until we get to the stitch marker. Remember, back loops only. Let me give a nice close up of that so you can see it. There's your front loop. So there's both the loops so you can see it. That's both loops. Now we're not putting it in that front loop, we're putting it all the way in that back loop right there. So that's where you're doing your half double crochet. I mean, I'm lying, your double crochet. My apologies there. Okay. Now, continue doing that all the way across until you get to the stitch marker, and I'll meet you up. All right, we are up to our next stitch marker. We'll take that off. Okay. Now, you could probably already see that the size of the stitches are different anyway, so you may not need a stitch marker. Okay, especially for these single crochets, they're really tiny, and the doubles are quite big, but you know, it's good to have anyway. All right, so you do a single crochet in the back loop only. Yes, there's your 1 single crochet. Oops. Oh. Okay, we're going to pop our stitch marker back in there. All right, then we have, that's the first one. Now we're doing our second one in your next back loop, third one in your next back loop, and 4th one in your next back loop. And when we're doing our 5th one, remember people, we're putting it through both the loops. And the reason we're doing that is for security. A bit more of a tighter tension at the end. We need it nice and tight there, and we need it nice and tight on both ends. Okay, so at the moment, what you will be seeing is this beautiful ridge. And it's already starting to form the shape of the beanie as you saw in the previous shot. Now, all you need to do for the rest of the beanie is to continue in this manner all the way until you get to, until you get to the measurement that you need. All right, what I meant is you need to, okay, measure from there to there. Okay, what you're doing is you're measuring around the circumference of your head. Okay, let's say that's where the top of your eyebrows are, and that's from there. Yeah? Top of your eyebrows are here. You've popped them on top of your eyebrows around your head. Okay, it has to be on the half double crochet side. Bless you. The single, it was my son sneezing. The single crochet side is right up the top where the top of your head is. And the half double crochet side will be right above your eyebrows. Directly above them or a little bit higher, whichever suits you, because that's the top of your eyebrow there. Pretend that's, you're looking at it like that. So it's the top of your eyebrow. You can have it on top of your eyebrow, you can have it a little bit higher, whichever suits you. Depends on how far down you want to keep your beanie. You might want it covering your ears a bit more, so it's almost on top of your eyebrows, almost hitting your eyebrows. Whichever suits you. Okay, so what you need is the width of that goes around your head. Okay, so you will crochet the amount of rows up, and if it's any consolation, to let you know with in reference to my own head, I think I calculated roughly 55 rows or 53 rows, depending. Oh, I might have missed 1 or 2 rows, but roughly around that, if that helps. So get up to about 45 rows and then start measuring it around your head and see where you're at. All right? And I'll catch you up. Okay, so I finished my rounds and my beanie pretty much looks like that. Okay, well, not complete yet, of course. So just fold it over and we're just going to have a look at it at this stage. So what will happen, and I've taken my stitch markers out and I'll put them back in a minute when we're ready to, I don't really need them anyway. Okay, so this is the front of our forehead. This goes all the way up to the top of our head. So in other words, that's where our eyes will be, right there. So that's your half double crochets go to the top and your single crochets go, at the bottom, and your single crochets go right at the top, because now in the next tutorial, next few minutes, we are going to crochet all that up together or sew it up all together. Sew the side seams, sew up the top, and that will be your beanie. So your head will go in there. All right, so let's get going. This is a darning needle. It's got a little bit of a flick on the end that helps you to sew in a side seam. Okay, and you've got a bigger eye, so it helps you to thread it easier too. Now, when you finish your, I forgot to mention earlier, when you finish your side, you must finish on a half double crochet side. If you're on the single crochet side, then just either do another row or take the row undone, okay? Because what we'll do now is we will be sewing along there, and with the same thread, we'll be closing all that up, all right? So it gives you that beanie look, okay? If you want to leave it that way and you want to sew it up this way, just weave in the end and grab yourself some more thread and you can do the rest here later. A lot of people do that anyway because they like to do this part with 2 threads rather than 1, just for the security. But, you know, it's entirely up to you, your choice. So what we're going to do now is we're going to thread our eye of the needle. This one's nice and easy to thread because the eye is big. If you haven't finished off your stitch, just make a loop and put your needle through and finish it off. I finished mine off camera before. Okay, turn it around. Now, because it is a ridged beanie, so that we don't see that horrible line at the back and we don't have to put that part at the back of our head, because with this way of doing it we won't need to, we're going to weave in our ends along here, sew in our side seams along here, and we're going to put them in the back loops. I'll get a nice close up for you so you can see it. We're going to put our needle, our sewing needle, in that back loop there. So you've got 2 loops, 1 and 2, right there. We're going to pop it in the back loop there, and then pop it in the back loop of the opposite side. Okay, not for all, just for the rest of the row, yes, but for the first 2, the first stitch and the last stitch, we're going to pop it through both loops. That's just for security. Okay, so it's already in there anyway from the previous thread. So we're just going to pop it in both loops of the opposite side, just for the first part. Okay, pop that through like that. All right, too easy. Now, you've got to be careful because you can almost pop it through a 3rd loop and you don't want that. So what we want, there's your, let's see if I can get it in screen. There's your front loop, there's your back loop. So we're going to pop see how it's a lot easier when you've got this little needle that flicks out. And see how you've got that V stitch right there? We're going to pop it through the back of that V stitch. Oops, that's split the yarn there, sorry, the back. All right, pop that through. And don't knot up the yarn like I always do when I'm doing this part. Okay, so then we pop it through the back of the next stitch right there. All right, and then the back of your next stitch right there. All right, And that's pretty much all we do all the way across. Show you another one so you can see it. There's your stitch, and where are we up to? Stitch number 3. There's your stitch, and there's your back loop of the stitch, right there. There's your back loop of the opposite stitch, right there. Pop it through and pull in all that thread. Maybe I did put a bit too much thread here, but it doesn't matter. It's all good. All right, so what I want you to do, continue in that manner all the way until you get across to the very last stitch, and don't put it in the very last stitch. Just wait at the second last stitch for me, and I'll meet you up. Okay, here we are at the very end, and we've got your single crochet up the top on one side and single crochet up the top on the other side, and you are on this side. So now you're going to put your hook between both those loops. It's a little bit bulky there from the beginning. Hang on, let me get a nice close-up so you can see what I'm doing. Sorry about that. All right, so right there, in there, it's a little bit bulky. That's from the start. That's fine. Just pop it in there, that side, and pop it in the other side. Now, if you want to put it there, you can. I tend to put it through all of it. Otherwise, not there, but there, there's 2 threads right there. Otherwise, it can come undone. Then we do that. Now, ordinarily, I would not tie up in crochet, but in this case I will, because you want to keep that seam in place. If you don't tighten it, it can loosen and your seam will loosen and you can see gaps. So we're going to have a little knot right there, just one, with that leftover thread from earlier, and then one more, just for a little bit more security. All right, now this is where the fun begins, because it means we're nearing the end of our beanie. All right, you've got your sewing needle still attached, okay? Now, we are going to scrunch all of this up. To do that, we need to grab our needle with all our thread and weave in and out of these little gaps you see. This is where this kind of needle comes in handy. Let's see if I can get another close up. I've got some really bad lighting today. I don't know why. Okay, so yeah, so we're weaving in and out of those gaps. You can actually see, if you pull it, you can see the holes, like the little gaps in between each row. Okay, pop it through occasionally. Don't weave in too many, otherwise you take you forever and it can all get all tangled up. So to put it through after 3 or 4 weaves, if that makes any sense, 3 or 4 goes. Okay, so if I wanted to now and pull it, it will start to gather, but there's not enough to gather yet, so we're going to keep going. So we weave in and out of the gaps, in, out, in, out, in and out. Pop it through. Now, when we're doing this, we need to give it a gentle tug, not too tight, otherwise we can actually break the yarn. See how it's already starting to gather there? Okay, we're going to continue to do that all the way across. We've gone through there, so I need to go through the next section. There, okay. Oh, these darning needles are great, aren't they? Alright, so lovely people, don't also forget to visit my Etsy and my madeit.com.au stores. Okay, you'll find this beanie there in the next week or so, and you'll also find other beanies that I have made previously. Okay, if you find you like the look of crochet, but you just haven't got the patience, then by all means go to the stores, check them out, see whatever you like. If there's something that you do like that's not on the store, you can send me a private message and I'll see if I can accommodate. And if I can't, I will lead you in the right direction to someone who can. Okay. So we have a lot of crochet friends. So if there's something that I cannot do, I'm pretty sure my crochet colleagues would be able to assist. Okay. Okay, we're not doing too badly. It's really coming along. Now, just quickly, stop what we're doing for a bit and just give it a gentle tug along there. And just see, whoops, how it's starting to bobble there. Okay, we won't fix it yet. We won't fix it until we've got all the way through. I just wanted to show you what it's like when we start pulling at it. Okay, and when we do it, it must be done gently because you don't want to break that thread. Okay, and I know there are a lot of people who do like to use 2 threads when doing this. You know, that's fine too. If you think that you're a little bit rough or you're a little bit tight at your tension, then by all means use 2 threads. And I'm really quite tight and I'm really quite rough. So, and it's not broken on me yet. I haven't broken one yet, so I'm not doing too badly. Okay, so we're getting there, almost to the end. I've got a little end there because I actually used, I'll give that a chop in a minute. I used a second thread because I ran out of yarn on my ball. I think I used 2 balls of yarn doing this particular piece. So I think we're near the end there. Yes, we are. So we're going to pull that through. Okay, now this is where the magic begins, people. This is where it begins. Okay, so probably for the time being, you might want to just stick that little, stick that little thread, the leftover thread from there. See that one? Just stick it in there. Okay, now there is your thread, all scrunched up. Your beanie's all scrunched up. Okay, so we don't want to pull it too tight or we will break it, and we don't want that. I'm going the wrong way. Okay, so we're pulling it that way, pushing it all down, and then we're giving it a tug. And we're pushing it all down that way, and then we're giving it a little tug. It's starting to get there. Let's see if we can flatten the hat out a little bit. Well, this is a bit awkward, this part, but once you get it, okay, we're going to give the thread a bit of a tug and push all that over there. It's starting to get all squished in there. You give your hat, if you make it a little bit flat, you can make sure, see how it's really bulky there and it's sort of gappy in here? You want it to be the same. Might pay to stick your little finger in there and have a bit of a play, and then give it another tug. Okay, all right, beautiful, it's looking good. So now we get our needle, we pop it in that little hole right there, turn the beanie up the other way, I'll pull it through, so to speak, and get it. Just give it a tug. And we are going to, oh, this little end is in the way. All right, okay, so we are going to, see that little hole there? We are going to start going around in the hole to close it up. Just weaving now, we're just sewing in that end. So we're giving it a good tug to close it all up. We can fiddle with it later too. I mean, you know, it can be moved around afterwards as well, so there's no problems there. And usually when I'm doing granny squares and I do this, it does sort itself out. So this is no different than a granny square in the sense that it will give it a tug and it'll just keep pulling. and you can, you know, adjust it afterwards as well. And here there's no no special way of doing it. Just, oops, not that thread. Oops, I've pulled that thread, haven't I? Doesn't matter. Well, it does. Let me take it out of there. I'm going to weave that in later, that thread, so don't worry too much about it. The joys of crochet, it's the constant weaving that we have to do as well. And knitters, we all have to weave, you know, like weaving these ends. Crocheters and knitters, we all weave. All right, we are almost closing up that gap there. Okay, in fact, it's probably closed enough now for me to finish off, but you know, I like to really get in there and make sure it's secure. See how tight that little hole is? You can't even see it anymore now. Okay. All right, so like I said, I'm a little bit fussy, so I'm going to do probably one more round. All right, now to finish off, okay, we just pull the needle through like we're doing, almost like we're doing another round. All right, pull it through, but don't pull it all the way through. Just get it a little bit through. See that little bit you've got left right there? We're going to put the needle in there. And what it does is you are tightening it up and you are making a little knot, okay? And be careful not to pull your thread too tight when doing this part here, because it will snap. Okay, it will snap. Experience is telling me it's going to snap if we keep pulling too tight. Okay, pull that through. Now before you pull it through all the way, remember to stick your needle in there, and what you're doing there is you're knotting it so that it doesn't come undone. Be careful, don't do it too so it tangles. Give it a nice tug. And now just I might do one more, you know, just to be safe. Oh, I think I did have too much thread myself before. Pop your needle in there and tighten it up. Okay, that should be it. Now I would weave in this end. You don't like it dangling down and annoying your head, making you itchy. If little things make you itchy like it does with me, you just need to weave that end in. Okay. Okay, I always like to do it a third time. Now when you're weaving in, do it in different areas so that you're not weaving it back through from where it came from. Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. So you're not weaving it back through from where you came from. We don't want to just like unravel it or de-ravel it, if that's the word you could use. Okay, now that one's done. What we're going to do is we are going to weave in the other end, which is here, that little one that's still hanging around. That's our very first thread that we started with. Now, if you were like me and used 2 balls of yarn or 2 skeins or whatever you want to call the word of yarn, then you may need to weave in a few more ends. Okay. Also, with this little bit, you can also, because I still find that the gap a little bit open there, you can also give that a tug, and it helps to close it up again. And the gap probably won't be closed completely. It should be. If I haven't done it tight enough, it won't. But you just go over it. It's no big deal. Okay. Oops, my thread's nearly coming out there. This thread's a little bit short, so I'm trying to go over the gap so that we can keep it in place. Oh, really thick now, isn't it? I wonder how yours is looking. I wonder what colours you used. You know, if you want to show off the work that you've done as well, then by all means, pop a couple of pictures up on my Facebook page. Okay, I'll be happy to have a look at those, and you can leave a comment here if you like, or you can leave a comment there in reference to the tutorial or in any other question you may have. Now this one here, we didn't need to knot it because we went through a gazillion times. It's not going to come undone. Okay, so lovely people, let me see if I can blow it. Whoops, wrong way. There you have it. You have your beanie. Okay, no hole. Okay, if you like, you know, a lot of people do. I wouldn't, not with this particular style. You can actually pop a pom-pom up there if you like. Personally, for this style, I think it stands on its own. It's got its own little border. It's got its own little, you know, look up the top. And I'll have some photos of it in the beginning of the tutorial. If I haven't yet put them in, I will put them in with my model wearing it, and you can have a look, see how it came out. So yours will probably come out pretty much the same. Thank you so much for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And don't forget to visit my stores, my Etsy, my medit.com.au stores. And also, if you want to subscribe to this channel, hit the subscribe button, click the little bell button so you can receive further tutorials. Okay,